Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video, and as you can probably tell with my background, I'm finally back in my apartment in New York City, home from NBA Summer League, which was a lot of fun. I was there for around 4 or 5 days, saw a ton of great hoops. Some really amazing young players are playing right now in Summer League. I met with some other content creators. I met a lot of y'all out there. Thank you so much to anybody who came up, took a picture, just said hey to me, said, hey, I watch your content. It really does mean the world to me, and as always, when I watch Summer League or go to it, as I've done for the past couple years now, I get super excited for the future of the league and think about what players might be the next big breakout stars. So in today's video, I want to talk about 10 players that I think are big breakout candidates for this upcoming season, whether it's they're in a new location where they could really thrive, they're just a second or third year player that could be ready to take that next leap, or any number of reasons. This isn't every player that I think could be a breakout guy. I could make a video with like 50 players if I really wanted to. So if you want to see maybe a part 2, or you just want to hear me talk about any of your favorite players, comment down below who you'd like to see in a future video, or I could even just respond to your comment and let you know what I think about them there. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the 10 breakout guys. First guy I want to talk about is Tyrese Maxi of the Philadelphia 76ers. I think everybody knows that he's a young star in the making. It feels like all-star potential is very clearly there for Tyrese, but I think that this season in particular could be the one where he finally makes that jump to an all-star caliber guard. Of course, it's a weird situation over there in Philadelphia with James Harden being on the trade block, but also it doesn't feel like there are any real suitors out there at the moment. The packages are kind of for James Harden at this moment, and it's starting to seem a lot more likely that he probably goes into at least training camp, if not the season, as a Philadelphia 76er. But if Harden does get moved, even if it is during the season itself, they're going to need somebody to step up at that guard position. And of course, that burden's probably going to fall on Tyrese Maxi. He's already a 20-point per game, highly efficient scorer, one of the fastest players in the league, super fun to watch alongside Harden and Embiid as well as Tobias Harris. But if Harden's gone, they're going to need even more from him. The volume is going to be more. They're going to need him to do a bit more playmaking. They need him to round out his game on the defensive end too. All things that I think Maxi is eventually capable of doing. And maybe this is the year where he takes that next leap. With new head coach Nick Nurse in the fold as well, who has said in some interviews that he wants to use Maxi in new ways. Maxi said that he's excited to be under Nick Nurse now because it feels like he's finally got a head coach who's going to experiment with some new things, allow him to try different roles, which I do think is exactly what Tyrese Maxi needs. Not to mention the fact that Maxi is due for a big-time contract this upcoming offseason, which is just a bit of an extra incentive to go out there and hoop at a new level. I really think he's got way more in the tank than people are realizing. This could be the season where he really puts it all together, and if he does, Philadelphia is going to be even scarier than they've been in the past. Second guy on my list is Jabari Smith Jr. of the Houston Rockets. He's been great in Summer League. He's been shut down at this point. He had like a 30-piece. He had a game winner where I believe he had around 25-ish points. He was too good for Summer League, and he didn't have the best rookie season. A lot of people were really down on him. The three-point shot, which was supposed to be one of his calling cards, wasn't phenomenal in his first season. Now, the defense looked really good at times, but it really felt like Jabari Smith Jr. needs a bit more of a playmaker to really help him set up his game. And while I didn't love the Houston Rockets offseason acquisitions, I thought they overpaid a lot of guys, I do think Fred VanVleet as a playmaker will make a difference for Jabari Smith Jr. Plus, just in general in the Summer League, we saw him doing a lot of really interesting stuff that we didn't see much of last season. He was creating for himself off the dribble, hitting a lot more turnaround jumpers, and just shooting over guys like we expected he would do this past season. He knocked down threes, he was physical, finishing through contact. If Jabari puts this all together in the regular season, somewhat aided by the playmaking of Fred VanVleet, even Amin Thompson, who he looked really good alongside before Amin went down with that ankle injury in their first Summer League game. But yeah, maybe this is the season where Jabari Smith Jr. shows that, hey, this is the reason why I was the top 3 pick. And Jabari becoming that player that they drafted him to be would be a massive boost to the Rockets this upcoming season. Obviously, they want to get out of the gutter. They don't want to be one of the worst teams in the league again like they've been the past few seasons. And while those free agent acquisitions can help out with that, internal growth is really going to be the key, and maybe Jabari Smith is that guy that takes that big leap. Next guy on the list is kind of an obvious one, and it's Jordan Poole of now the Washington Wizards. He was really good in the Warriors title run back in 2022, an integral piece, their first guy off the bench, a real bucket getter who had some big time moments in that regular season, in the playoff run. Jordan Poole looked like he was going to be a long-term piece of the Golden State Warriors' future, and maybe the next lead scoring guard for Golden State after Steph Curry, either declined or eventually retired. However, after a really down season this past year that was filled with a bunch of drama involving him and Draymond Green, he's now been sent over to the Washington Wizards, while the Warriors brought in a more veteran presence in Chris Paul. And now over in Washington, where they've begun the rebuild, trading Bradley Beal, trading Kristaps Porzingis, Poole is going to be looked at to be maybe the number one option, maybe number two option, depending on Kyle Kuzma's role. But he's going to be one of the top guys on this roster. He's going to get a chance to start finally over here in Washington. And I think he could have a really good year. Again, I know this past season was kind of a down year, but I do think that punch incident at the beginning of the season really kind of hindered him at times. It seemed like he wasn't as comfortable out there. His shot definitely wasn't falling as much. And I don't think that's the sole reason why he wasn't great. But I do think maybe in a new environment where he can kind of just be himself, explore his game, Jordan Poole could be really good, reestablish some of his value, some of that stock that a lot of people had in him as one of the best young up-and-coming scoring guards in the league, and again, show why he got that huge contract extension about an offseason ago. I'm really excited to see what Jordan Poole can do. I'm happy that the Wizards brought him in. I think he's a great fit over there to just be a fun guy to start your rebuild. He's got a chance now with no pressure to kind of just bounce back to who he was back in that title run. Following him on the list, we've got Obi Toppin of the now Indiana Pacers, another guy who's in a new destination, and I love this spot for Obi Toppin. There are a lot of Knicks fans who really wanted to see Obi get a starting role in New York at some point, saying that, hey, if he is finally given the opportunity, he can truly be special. And we saw that for a little bit at the end of this past season when Julius Randle was down with, I believe it was an ankle injury leading into the playoffs. Obi Toppin got some starting run, and he averaged over 20 points per game. He was highly efficient. He looked incredible out there, and the Knicks were really competitive. They were winning games. He was impacting things left and right. And now over in Indiana, he might have a chance to actually start. Now, we don't know if it's going to be him or maybe Jarris Walker if they instead want to go a bit more defensive. But regardless, I think he's going to get a lot more opportunity over there in Indiana. Plus, he's now playing alongside Tyrese Halliburton, who's an elite playmaker, averaging around 20 and 10 this past season. He's got some great defenders next to him as well, with a Bruce Brown, with a Miles Turner potentially in the starting lineup. I think Obi Toppin could be in for an incredible season. Plus, watching like him, Tyrese Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin, Bruce Brown even in transition, like some incredible transition guys on a young team that can just get up and down the court. I think the Pacers are going to be one of my most fun watches of this entire season. I made a full video breaking down why I really like what the Pacers are doing like around a week and a half ago. So if you want to go see that, I talked a little bit more about why I like this team. And the addition of Obi Toppin is one of the biggest reasons why. Speaking of fun young frontcourt guys in the East, next guy I want to talk about is Mark Williams of the Charlotte Hornets. I don't know how he hasn't gotten more buzz, not intending with the pun there, but Mark Williams was really good this past season. In my opinion, he's one of the most underrated young players and someone that's just not nearly talked about across the entire NBA. He showed so much defensive potential this past season as a member of the Hornets, blocking shots, protecting the rim, playing really solid help side defense. He would also switch on the perimeter at times and held his own. Like, Mark Williams can do a bit of everything. He's a really interesting defensive versatility guy going forward. Additionally, when he started towards the end of the season, he averaged around a double-double without a block per game, and he looked really good in that role, while also not playing really alongside LaMelo Ball for most of the season. Alongside LaMelo, he's going to have an elite playmaker who can get him the ball on lobs, get him the ball down low. They can run pick and roll actions alongside each other, which I think could be an incredibly fun duo. And I really do think Mark Williams is an amazing big for a guy like LaMelo. He's a lot better than the options that LaMelo's had over the past few seasons. I'm super excited to watch those two young guys play alongside each other this upcoming year. And I think not enough people are talking about how good Mark Williams can be, not just this upcoming season, but down the line. I just don't understand why he's not talked about more. He's going to be really good. Speaking of fun young bigs, next up we've got Onyeka Okongwu of the Atlanta Hawks. I've been on this train for a while now. I loved Okongwu going into the draft, and I still think he has the potential to be one of the best young bigs in the league. It's just a matter of time until he finally gets that starting opportunity from Atlanta. And maybe it ends up coming this season. Reports are that the Hawks are still looking to move off from salary, whether that is DeAndre Hunter at the wing position, maybe they go for a guy like Pascal Siakam and he's a young piece involved, or if they decide to just move some salary more in general, it could be Clint Capella moving off of this team. He's a bit older at this point, and I think Okongwu could from day one be a better fit alongside Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, and the rest of that starting cast. He's got a little less size than Clint Capella, but is still really solid, getting about 2 blocks per game and averaging near a double-double in the games that he's started so far in the league. He's got a bit more stretchability than Clint Capella as well. Not exactly a 3-point shooter at this point. I think he shot like 13 threes this past season and made like 4 of them, so He can knock them down at times, but I do think there's more mid-range ability than Clint Capella has. Like, just overall, more of an offensive game than Capella has, which is for the most part just dunking the ball and finishing plays around the rim, which he is good at. But I do think Okongwu alongside Trey, DeJounte Murray, and the rest of that group would be a really fun fit. I think the second he gets a starting spot, people are going to realize, hey, this guy's really good. It's just a matter of time until he finally gets the opportunity. The defensive upside is also ridiculous. I think he's going to be amazing once given that chance, and maybe it comes as soon as this season. Next guy is Josh Green of the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas is in a weird position where they traded for Kyrie last deadline, and they didn't look good afterwards. Him and Luka is theoretically a great offensive pairing, but the defense was absolutely abysmal. They need somebody to step up on that end, and I think Josh Green could slot into that starting lineup as a perfect piece to help them shore up their defense while also providing a nice offensive punch. He shot really solid from three this past year, although the volume was pretty low, but I think he could continue to shoot at least decently well on even higher volume. He's one of the best defenders on that entire roster, and I think getting plays from Kyrie and Luka, all the pressure that they're going to demand, I think Josh Green could really thrive in that starting lineup. I think he might get that opportunity, and I hope he does. He's one of the most interesting young players on the entire roster, and I think a lot of people forget how good he could potentially be. I hope the Mavericks give him a lot of opportunity, and if he does get that chance, I think Josh Green could have the potential to break out and become another high-level player that could help take the Mavericks to the next level. Ninth guy on the list for me is Desmond Bain of the Memphis Grizzlies. He kind of broke out this past season, looking like an all-star caliber player before getting hurt, but I think there's another level that we could see to Desmond Bain's game where he does become that all-star caliber player as soon as this year. He's going into his age 25 season, so he's starting to get there towards his prime, and they're going to need a lot from him at the beginning of the year, with Ja Morant dealing with that 25-game suspension to start things off. I think he's going to step into that role fresh off this huge extension that he just got. There's still going to be playmakers out there too, with like Marcus Smart coming into the fold of things, being ready to help him out, so I think he'll still be able to get set up every now and again, but Desmond Bain doesn't even need it that much. He showed a ton of self-creation potential this past season that I think he can build on, whether that's from outside the arc where he's particularly deadly, or even inside the arc where I really liked what I saw from him this past year. Desmond Bain is someone that a lot of people are thinking got way overpaid, but I think he can really show how valuable he is in this 25-game stretch where Ja is out, step up in a big way, get some all-star buzz around him, and maybe even end up making the game, although I will say the West is very stacked at that position, so it's going to be tough, but Desmond, at the very least in my opinion, will be an all-star caliber player this upcoming year. Also on this list is Shaden Sharpe of the Detroit Pistons. He looked phenomenal in his rookie season. He's looked great in Summer League, and I think he's going to continue to put it together in this upcoming year. He was one of the youngest players. In fact, I think he might have been the youngest in this past season. If not, then probably like the top 5. And yet he was really good. He was basically averaging a double-double out there. It felt like almost every single night. The athleticism is ridiculous. He's also got some ability to step out a little bit beyond the paint and knock down some jumpers. I think a three-point shot isn't out of the question for him too later down the line. And he was doing basically everything without Cade Cunningham in the mix. Similar to the Mark Williams situation, Shaden Sharpe's going to have the best playmaker he's ever had this upcoming season. I know it's only been 1 year, but Cade Cunningham is going to make a world of difference coming in there and setting him up. He's going to be great in the pick and roll with him. I think his playmaking instincts are underrated by most people who haven't watched that much of his game. I think Shaden Sharpe really projects as a Bam Adebayo type player, someone that can lock up, whether it's stepping out to the perimeter or play on the inside. He can defend, he can knock down some jumpers, he can play make, do a little bit of everything. Now, I don't know if he'll ever quite become Bam, but I think he's going to continue to get towards that level, starting with this upcoming season, as one of the most underrated parts of Detroit's young core. And finally, my 10th guy is Shaden Sharpe of the Portland Trailblazers. It's no secret that Damian Lillard is probably going to be dealt by the Blazers at some point in this offseason, if not at the beginning of this upcoming year itself, and once he gets dealt, there's a lot of pressure and a bunch of young guys on that roster. Of course, Anthony Simons is there. You've got Jeremy Grant back now on a big deal, which I think eventually he'll get moved. You've got Scoot Henderson, who they just drafted, but also Shaden Sharpe, who they took in the top 10 this past year, and he looked really solid as a rookie. He had his usual rookie ups and downs, but the efficiency, especially from the perimeter, was a lot better than I expected it to be for a guy who never even played in college and just kind of straight came into the NBA out of high school in a way. Of course, he had some preparation, but not playing any college games, I thought it was going to be a bit more of an adjustment period for Shaden, but it really wasn't. I mean, he's an elite athlete. I love what I've seen from him in Summer League. He did have that one game where the offensive efficiency was incredibly rough, but for the most part, I think he's been doing a good job of exploring new things, trying new ways to create shots for himself, knocking down threes, trying to get his teammates involved. He's trying to round out and explore his game. He's not focused on just dominating in the ways that we already know he can, which I think is exactly what young players should use Summer League for. So I like a lot of what I've seen from Shaden. I think him, Scoot, Anthony Simons is going to be one of the best young cores in the league from day one when Dame gets traded. Plus, of course, they're going to get a lot for Dame himself, and I'm really excited to see what Shaden can do alongside those other young guys this upcoming season. Imagine him and Scoot Henderson on a fast break. So yeah, with that being said, those are my 10 breakout candidates for this upcoming season. Like I said, I could make a million more of these videos talking about so many different young players in the league. These are just 10 guys that came to my head that I thought were particularly interesting to talk about. Comment down below who on your favorite team you think can break out this upcoming season. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these videos. If you have any video ideas or teams, players, whatever that you want to see me talk about in this offseason, because I'm always open to ideas, let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what y'all have to say. But for right now, I do appreciate y'all watching, and I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.